Starting off with a medical potential breakthrough here that really affects so many people around the world. The rapid growth in the number of people living with Alzheimer's disease has been recorded in recent years, and it's estimated there are some 44 million people worldwide living with the disease, and that may only be a quarter of the ones actually out there dealing with it. Now, on the upside, the Food and Drug Administration in the U.S. is set to fully approve the Alzheimer's drug Leqembi, if I'm saying it right, yet concerns remain about its safety, the cost, and accessibility. The treatment apparently targets a type of protein in the brain, long thought by scientists to be one of the underlying causes of Alzheimer's. So to get more on this and the implications, we're joined by Dr. Tamara Shiner, a neurologist and the head of the Center for Advanced Treatments in Alzheimer's Disease at Tel Aviv's Sourasky Medical Center here. Ichilov, thanks for being with us. Look, I understand this is a novel approach in some ways with this drug to slow the progression of the disease rather than simply address symptoms. I mean, why approval now? Tell us the bigger picture, how important this looks to be.
Okay, so this is actually the first drug that has been approved by the FDA that actually slows the progression of Alzheimer's disease. Up until now, we've had drugs that have been symptomatic, have improved the symptoms that you have, but no drug that actually slows the progression of the disease that got full approval. We had a previous drug called aducanumab that got only accelerated approval. Now this is really a breakthrough as far as patients go, because it means that there's something we can do to try and slow down the progression of the disease. It basically works as a monoclonal antibody. It's a biological treatment that clears one of the proteins that's involved in Alzheimer's disease, which is called amyloid, and it clears it from the brain. And more importantly than clearing it, they've shown that actually the study that they ran was a year and a half. They showed that people within that study who got Leqembi actually had a almost 30% slower progression, which comes to about 6 months over an 18-month period.
And I'm led to assume, prior to this being approved by the FDA, not many people have been, outside of the trials, of course, there's not many people yet getting access to this drug. So this will represent basically an open door for a new way of dealing with it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it completely revolutionizes the treatment that we have up until now, which, as I said, has really been only symptomatic. As you mentioned at the beginning of the article, we have issues as well with this drug. First of all, the cost. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but it's obviously going to be significant. And there are those side effects that you mentioned. The most significant one of that is something that we see called ARIA, which is amyloid-related imaging abnormalities, which basically shows it's changes that we see on the MRI when people are treated with this drug. Most of the people who have these changes are asymptomatic. They don't have any symptoms from these changes, but there is a group, about 2%, that are symptomatic. So that's an important side effect, and that's why we need to have regular MRI scans for people who are treated with this. And obviously, it's accessibility. We have to do many tests in order to make sure that we're diagnosing the disease correctly. We have to have biological markers now. It's not enough to come up with a clinical test. So it's a whole change in our area, and it's going to take a big change in our approach to this disease as well.
So clearly a positive development, and we're going to see, I guess, just how positive and how far-reaching this really goes in terms of helping people live with it, live with the disease, or perhaps delay the real issues around it. Look, what can you tell us about in Israel, the nature of the research on this subject here? How involved Israeli researchers are in contributing to this field.
So this is just one of many, many drugs that's in the pipeline for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease. As I said, this is one of the ones from a class that get rid of the antibody, that is basically an antibody that gets rid of the amyloid. But then there's many other drugs that are currently being tested, and we have some trials that are going on now at Ichilov, where we're at the Tel Aviv Medical Center, where we're looking at a drug that works on the immune system. We're testing that within a clinical trial. There's another one that works on a certain checkpoint inhibitor. And so, there's many things that are going on in the area. And what we're hoping is that this treatment is going to be part of, it's going to do part of the work, but probably it will end up with combination treatment. Like we see for diseases such as cancer, where you have very specific personalized treatments, where often people need several treatments to work in different ways in order to treat the disease. We're thinking that this is the way our area is going to progress as well. We're really involved in the new drugs, and we're hoping very much this is just the beginning of these disease-modifying therapies for this disease, which we haven't had until now.
Dr. Tamara Shiner, glad we had you on this subject. Certainly a lot more than even meets the eye in the initial reports about this. So we'll stay tuned and positive development. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.